Most people don't notice it immediately. It usually starts with something small. Coffee that used to fill the kitchen with aroma suddenly feels weaker. A candle that once lasted all evening barely seems noticeable now. Laundry smells cleaner, but somehow less comforting. Even supermarkets feel different. And eventually, people begin wondering something strange. Why does nothing smell strong anymore? At first, many people blame themselves. Maybe age, maybe stress, maybe they simply got used to certain smells over time. But then something odd happens. They visit an older bakery, an old diner, a small coffee shop, and suddenly they smell everything again. That's when many people quietly realize, maybe the world itself changed too, because a lot of everyday products genuinely changed over the last decade. Quietly, coffee changed, soap changed, candles changed, detergent changed, even grocery stores changed. And once people notice that pattern, it becomes difficult to stop noticing it everywhere, especially longtime coffee drinkers. Many of them remember waking up and smelling coffee before they even reached the kitchen. The aroma traveled through the house. It stayed in the air. It felt warm before the first sip even happened. Now many coffees smell strong for a few seconds, then disappear surprisingly fast. And honestly, that small difference affects people emotionally more than they realize, because smell is deeply tied to memory. People don't just smell coffee. They smell childhood kitchens, parents waking up early, weekends at home, old restaurants, conversations, routines that no longer exist. That's why certain smells instantly reconnect people to entire moments in life. And when those smells weaken, something emotional weakens with them too. That's why this topic feels strangely personal for so many people. Because they are not only noticing weaker scent, they are noticing weaker atmosphere. In coffee may be one of the easiest places to feel it. Longtime coffee drinkers now buy darker coffee, stronger coffee, extra bold cafeterian to recover something they remember emotionally. But stronger and more comforting are not the same thing. That's one of the biggest realizations many people quietly reach later in life. Coffee became louder without becoming more memorable. And modern coffee companies are not always building coffee around aroma anymore. They build around shelf life, transportation, consistency, mass production, stability on shelves, practical things. Necessary things, but of airtime. Those priorities slowly change the experience itself. Especially aroma. Because aroma is fragile. Coffee loses aroma surprisingly fast, and modern supply chains are much longer now than they used to be. Coffee now spends more time packaged, more time transported, more time warehoused, more time sitting on shelves. People even open the bag. And aroma is usually one of the first things time removes. Not bitterness, not darkness. Aroma disappears first. That's why many coffees today still taste strong, while somehow smelling weaker. And once people notice that difference, many supermarket coffees suddenly start feeling strangely similar. Dark, heavy, sharp, but emotionally flat. Many coffees today are roasted to taste powerful, not alive. And that changes the entire experience around drinking them, especially for longtime coffee drinkers who remember coffee feeling calmer years ago, rounder, warmer, more comforting. Now many coffees feel engineered to impress the first sip, instead of staying enjoyable through the entire cup. That's a major difference. And modern product design changed far beyond coffee too. Years ago, many products had stronger sensory identity. People could instantly recognize certain hotels, department stores, bakeries, laundromats, coffee shops just from smell alone. Now, many places feel strangely neutral. Cleaner may be more controlled, but also less memorable. And People absolutely feel that shift subconsciously, especially after 50. Because smell becomes more emotionally important with age. Older adults often become more connected to sensory memory over time. That's one reason nostalgia feels so physical sometimes. People are not only remembering events, they're remembering environments. And smell is one of the strongest memory triggers human beings have. That's why older coffee drinkers often say things like, "Coffee smelled better years ago," even if they cannot fully explain why. Because deep down, they are probably noticing something real. And one of the strangest parts is this. The modern world became filled with stronger stimulation, while many everyday sensory experiences became weaker. More screens, more noise, more notifications, more stress, but somehow less presence. And that may be part of why so many people now feel nostalgic in ways they cannot fully explain. Because many things did not disappear dramatically, faded slowly. And smell may be one of the clearest examples of that happening. One of the biggest reasons people notice weaker smells today is because modern products are no longer designed the same way they were years ago, and 'tis good far beyond coffee. A lot of products today are built around control. Controlled scent, controlled reactions, controlled complaints, controlled production costs, controlled consistency. And eventually that changes how everyday life actually feels, especially inside homes. Years ago, many products had stronger personality. You could instantly recognize a specific detergent, a bakery, a hotel lobby, a coffee shop, even certain grocery stores, without seeing anything at all, just from smell. Today, many environments feel strangely neutral. Cleaner, maybe. More modern, maybe. But also less emotionally memorable. And honestly, people notice this faster than companies realize, especially long-time shoppers, because it quietly shapes atmosphere. A bakery that smells alive feels different emotionally. A coffee shop with rich aroma feels warmer instantly. A grocery store with fresh bread smells more comforting before people even touch a product. And once those sensory layers weaken, places start feeling flatter too. That's one reason many older adults now describe modern supermarkets as colder, emptier, less comforting, strangely forgettable, even if they never consciously connected to smell itself. Because scent affects emotion silently. And another huge shift happened quietly over the last decade. Many companies started reducing fragrance intensity. Intentionally, especially detergents, soaps, candles, shampoos, cleaning products. Not because companies hate strong smells. Because consumer behavior changed, people became more sensitive to headaches, allergies, overpowering fragrance, chemical smells. Artificial scent. So companies started softening products. And in some ways, that was probably necessary. But emotionally, something changed. Too, many products stopped feeling deeply present. They became safer, cleaner, more controlled, but also less recognizable. And coffee followed a very similar path. Many coffees today smell impressive immediately after opening the bag. Then the aroma fades surprisingly fast. That's because modern coffee often spends much longer inside supply chains before reaching people's kitchens. And coffee aroma is extremely fragile. It disappears much faster than bitterness or dark roast flavor. That's why many coffees today still taste aggressive, while somehow feeling emotionally weaker. Many coffees today are designed to survive shelves, not fill kitchens. And once people realize that, a lot of modern coffee suddenly starts making more sense. Especially the rise of extremely dark roasting. Dark roasting creates impact fast. Strong smell, strong bitterness, strong first impression. But many dark coffees also lose subtle aroma complexity much faster over time. That's why some coffees now smell powerful for 30 seconds, then strangely empty afterward. And honestly, modern life itself probably made this feeling even stronger. People today live under constant stimulation. Phones, notifications, traffic, artificial lighting, noise, stress, fast routines. The nervous system rarely slows down completely anymore, and under constant stimulation, the brain gradually stops noticing softer sensory details, especially familiar smells. That's why many people suddenly notice stronger aroma during vacations, slower mornings, cabins, diners, older coffee shops, quiet weekends there. Attention finally slows down enough to experience scent properly again. And honestly, that may be one of the biggest hidden reasons coffee feels different now. Years ago, coffee routines themselves were slower. People brewed coffee more carefully, sat longer at the table, read newspapers, tell kid more, smelled the coffee longer before drinking it. Coffee was part of atmosphere. Now many people drink coffee while driving, while scrolling phones, while rushing to work, while distracted constantly. The sensory ritual weakened, along with modern attention spans. And that changes how coffee feels emotionally. Not because people suddenly lost smell, because sensory experience depends heavily on presence, too. And once presence disappears, many softer pleasures become harder to notice, especially comforting aroma. That may also explain why nostalgia feels stronger now for so many people over 50, because many older adults remember when everyday life itself felt more sensory, more atmospheric, more memorable, not necessarily easier, but fuller. And smell played a much bigger role in that feeling than most people realized at the time. Especially coffee smell. Coffee aroma once created anticipation, comfort, routine, emotional grounding. Now, for many people, coffee still provides caffeine, but not always the same emotional experience. And strangely enough, many people are not actually searching for stronger smells anymore. They're searching for a stronger presence. And once people recognize that, they begin understanding why so many modern products feel strangely forgettable now. Once people start noticing these changes, something interesting usually happens. They begin slowing down again. Not always intentionally, but naturally. Because many people eventually realize they are not actually searching for stronger smells. They're searching for stronger connection, and those are not the same thing. A lot of long-time coffee drinkers spend years buying darker roasts, stronger candles, expensive detergents, heavier to recover a feeling they remember from years ago. But intensity alone rarely recreates that feeling, because the thing people miss most is usually not strength. It's presence. It's the way certain smells once filled a room naturally, the way coffee aroma slowly spread through the kitchen, the way bakeries smelled before people even opened the door, the way fresh laundry felt comforting before products became aggressively optimized. And once people recognize that, they often stop chasing more. They start noticing smaller details again instead. Fresh coffee opened recently, bread from a local bakery, a slower morning routine, a quiet diner, rain outside, a calmer house, a simple cup of medium roast coffee. Ironically, simpler experiences often feel emotionally stronger now. Not because they are objectively more powerful, because they allow people to actually notice them again. And coffee may still be one of the best examples of this. Many longtime coffee drinkers eventually realize the coffees they enjoy most are not always the darkest, the strongest, the trendiest, the most expensive. They often the coffees that simply feel comforting day after day. Coffees that smell alive, coffees that don't exhaust the palate immediately, coffees that feel warm, instead of aggressive. And strangely enough, many people rediscover that feeling through simpler, medium roasts again. Not because medium roast is magical, because balance allows aroma and softness to survive longer. That's something extremely dark coffee often destroys, especially mass-produced supermarket coffee designed mainly for shelf consistency and bold first impressions. Many coffees today are built to create reaction, not relationship. And honestly, that idea applies to far more than coffee now. A lot of modern life became louder, brighter, faster, more stimulating, more optimized, but not necessarily more emotionally satisfying. That's why many people now feel mentally exhausted even while surrounded by constant stimulation all day. The brain stays busy, but the senses rarely feel grounded. And smell used to play a much bigger role in grounding everyday life than most people realized. Coffee aroma in the morning, fresh bread, laundry, rain outside, old bookstores, restaurants, family, kitchens. These small sensory experiences quietly helped life feel warmer and more memorable. And many people are not only missing scent itself now, they are missing the emotional atmosphere those scents created. That's why nostalgia feels so physical. Sometimes people are not only remembering moments, they're remembering environments, and smell people to environments faster than almost anything else, sometimes faster than photographs. That's how powerful scent really is. And honestly, that's probably why this topic feels strangely emotional for so many people watching this. Because deep down, many people already sensed something changed. Not only in products, in everyday life itself, things become cleaner, faster, more efficient, more controlled, but also less sensory, less warm, less atmospheric. And maybe that's the real reason people keep saying things used to smell stronger. Not because every company suddenly ruined products. Not because people imagined it, but because modern life slowly reduced many of the softer sensory experiences that once made everyday routines feel emotionally alive. And once people recognize that, they usually stop blaming themselves for getting older or losing smell. They realize they were noticing something real all along. And strangely enough, that realization alone often changes how people experience everyday life again. Because once people slow down enough to notice smaller sensory details again, many simple things suddenly start feeling richer. Coffee smells warmer. Fresh bread smells stronger. Morning air feels calmer. Small routines feel comforting again. Not because the world completely changed overnight, but because attention returned. And maybe that's what many people were actually missing. Along not stronger smells, stronger presence if mean you of something you've noticed over the years. I'd genuinely like to hear what changed for you first. And if someone else in your life still talks about how things used to smell years ago, send this video to them too.